Hey, my name's Ethan Walters, and this is my PRT 266 management interview. And for this project, I decided to interview Mark Sinclair, who used to be an athletic director for the YMCA and now works for a nonprofit organization in Wilmington called One Love Tennis. In this interview, we talked a lot about the racial barrier in sports, specifically in tennis, about Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson, which is really, really interesting. He knows a lot about that stuff. And we also talked about some of the issues facing youth sport and how we can fix some of those issues. It's really interesting. I'm excited for you to watch it. So without further ado, here's the interview.
All right, so first of all, can you just tell us a little bit about what One Love Tennis is and what you guys do?
Yeah. One Love Tennis is a nonprofit here in Wilmington. One Love Tennis is actually a program name. The nonprofit's legal name is the Lenny Simpson Tennis and Education Fund Incorporated. Mm-hmm. And it was incorporated in Tennessee and then does a solicitation license in North Carolina. So it's actually a two-state nonprofit, but it's based here in Wilmington. It was founded by Lenny Simpson of Lenny Simpson Tennis and Education Fund, who was a professional tennis player for many, many years, held lots of records. He was 37th in the world ranked at one time. He was the first black man to play professional world team tennis, with the Detroit Loves in Michigan, and held the record for the youngest man to play in the U.S. Open for almost 40 years. He played in the U.S. Open at age 15.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know too many 15-year-olds that are playing for world championships in any sport, but yeah, he was right there. And One Love Tennis is the coming full circle of the story of his life. He was very, very fortunate. In Wilmington, his next door neighbor was Dr. Hubert Eaton. And Dr. Hubert Eaton was the first black medical doctor at New Hanover Regional Medical Hospital, was on the school board and sued the school board, the Board of Education, to desegregate the Wilmington schools. He also desegregated the YMCA. He was a civil rights leader and friend of Dr. Martin Luther King.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he was very much an activist. Dr. Hubert Eaton's wife, Celeste, and their son, Dr. Hubert Eaton Jr. Now, Jr.'s still alive, and he lives here in Wilmington. But they all lived at 1406 Orange Street. And 1406 Orange Street, that house is kind of unassuming on the outside, but in the backyard, and he owned all but two houses on the block. He owned the whole city block. He had a swimming pool and a private tennis court. And I don't know anyone to this day personally that has a private swimming pool and a tennis court in their backyard. Yeah. So he was fairly well-to-do and affluent, had a practice over on 3rd Street. But pretty much everyone in Wilmington at the time knew him. Mm-hmm. It was the only tennis court in Wilmington that people of color could play on. Now, just a couple blocks away at New Hanover High School or the MLK Center, Greenfield Lake, you couldn't go on any of those courts if you were black. And even Hugh McRae Park you couldn't go on until, actually, little known fact, this would be 4 years ago now, Hugh McRae Park was finally, they changed the wording on the deed because it was whites only.
That's crazy.
Till 4 years ago. Yeah, they finally just fixed that.
That was 2015?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've come a long ways, but there's still obviously a ways to go. But history's come full circle because he lived next door to Dr. Eaton, and Dr. Eaton let him come to the tennis court and play tennis, and that's where he learned how to play tennis. Without being neighbors, he never would have had that opportunity. Just period, wouldn't have ever been able to play tennis. Now, Dr. Eaton's court was the quote-unquote black country club. That's where all people of color were welcome, but all people of any color were welcome. If you behaved yourself and you held yourself to a high regard and treated others well, you were welcome. So, everyone could go there. So what ended up happening was the history part of this is that Dr. Hubert Eaton was partners with Dr. Whirlwind Johnson. Dr. Johnson had a private tennis court in Lynchburg, Virginia, and Dr. Eaton had one here in Wilmington. Together, they're the godfathers of the ATA, the American Tennis Association. They were the two pioneer, forward-looking, both medical doctors that love tennis and were trying to advance racial integration through sports. So what they did is they went and toured the country trying to find the best young black players and then try to get them into tournaments and through winning tournaments and getting acceptance in the sports world that would kind of do the fight with the racial injustice.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a brilliant tact, quite honestly, because people worship sports heroes, and it worked. So they found Althea Gibson in the slums of New York in Harlem. She was an excellent paddle tennis player, so they brought her to Wilmington, made her finish high school. She trained at 1406, lived upstairs at 1406 in the apartment. Celeste had to teach her all of the behavioral things, you can't just, the ball rolls into your court from another court, you can't just kick it away. You have to return it. You have to shake hands even if you lose. There were certain social graces she did not have that she had to be taught. How to eat dinner with the fork and the knife and the spoon and all these, how to be lady, curtsy and all these things. How to be a lady.
Yeah.
Because Althea grew up, like I said, in the streets, and her dad wanted a son, and he taught her how to box. So she was a fighter. She was a scrapper. If she played you, she was going to beat you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are, she's in it to win, which is why she became a world champion.
Yeah, that's a good trait to have.
Yeah, she was aggressive, but she was muscular, lean, athletic, all the things you needed to be a world champion. What she didn't have was the right color skin. So she had to fight all of these injustices along the way, as many of the black players did. Arthur Ashe was 9 years younger than Althea, and he also came to Wilmington. He was discovered in the Virginias, but he was born in Richmond, Virginia, actually. And he eventually became a world champion as well. So Althea broke the color barrier in tennis, winning a world championship. She won 11 titles in 3 years. I mean, she was undisputably the best tennis player on the planet at the time. Met the Queen, won Wimbledon, won the French, but she could go to a tournament and they wouldn't let her in the locker room. She'd have to change her shoes and her clothes in the car, that kind of thing. Yeah. So Arthur Ashe came along later, and that wasn't a problem. He was allowed in, and of course he was a male and not a female. But anyway, those two champions were on either side of Lenny Simpson. Lenny was in the junior development team with Arthur Ashe up in Virginia, and all summer long they'd travel and play tournaments. Althea Gibson was the person who handed Lenny his first tennis racket at age 5 and became his first coach, nicknaming him Champ. And so when you have this, later on in life, wow, that woman who just won world championship was calling me Champ all this time, and it kind of raises your own expectations. And with those influences of hard work, good behavior, education, he rose right up through the ranks as well. If he wouldn't have injured himself, he probably would have become a world champion. He was that good. So anyway, because of all of the life experiences that he was given the opportunities to make a choice. Do you want to play or not play? Do you want to go or not go? These things that were given to him by his mentors. And of course he made the right choices. He's trying to do the same thing for kids in Wilmington right now. So One Love is funded through donations, through grant writing. That's basically, we do our own fundraisers. We're always trying to raise funds. No money, no mission. That's just the way it is. One Love is a term that is a tennis term, because in scoring, love is 0, and so it's one. If you win a match against somebody and they haven't won it, it's 1-0 or One Love. But the other side of that is One Love is the greatest gift that God ever gave. So, and Lenny's very beholden to that. He believes that it's not about him. This is about a bigger mission, a bigger picture, and we're blessed because we're doing things the right way. I can't disagree with that. There have been way too many coincidences that really I can't think are coincidences anymore. I've just stopped thinking about it. I've stopped believing in coincidence. I'll give you a quick example. So remember, Althea Gibson was his mentor. So there was a film about Althea called Althea, and it was a documentary about her life. Well, we showed it to every kid in New Hanover County, and a lot of the girls that were in GLOW saw that film, got very upset, because it's a story of injustice. I mean, she was treated very, very poorly. World champion, and just completely forgotten, basically written out of the history books. Arthur Ashe has the world's largest tennis stadium named after him. He only won 5 tournaments, or 5 Grand Slams. Althea won 11. She doesn't have anything at the U.S. Open National Tennis Center, the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, has nothing for her except a little 3-foot plaque that all the other champions have. So she was treated equally with the other champions, but Arthur has a stadium and a statue. And she did it all before he did, and she's got nothing. So the girls got upset. That's an injustice. So they asked Coach Lenny, what can they do about it? And they kind of figured, there's nothing they can do about it. He said, well, write some letters, from the heart, and I'll see to it that the United States Tennis Association gets those letters. Well, Lenny and Katrina Adams, who's the most powerful woman in tennis, she just ended her term, was the CEO, the chairman of the board, and the president of the USTA. And Lenny knows her. She's also African American. So we brought her to Wilmington a couple years ago to do a fundraiser. And at that fundraiser, we had the girls read those letters to her. And she was obviously very moved by that. These little black at-risk kids in Wilmington are making a case that Althea had some injustice here and she deserves some sort of recognition. So she took the letters back to the USTA, and not long after, they unanimously decided to commission a statue of Althea Gibson to unveil in 2019 at the U.S. Open in New York City.
Wow.
So letters work, right? Yay! Good for a little One Love Tennis in Wilmington. We were righting a wrong. We're making history. We're part of a movement. All this stuff, which is pretty cool. So those kids are going to get to go. We're going to take them to New York for this statue unveiling.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool. I mean, high school students do good.
Yeah.
And some of them are middle school.
Yeah, that is crazy. And on a huge stage, too.
Yeah. So that all you could kind of predict what was going to happen with Lenny's pull and influence and everything. What we didn't know was going to happen last year in 2018 was that Katrina Adams said, well, you gave me 40 letters. I want you to bring 40 kids to the U.S. Open. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Come to the presidential suite as my guest, and come to Arthur Ashe Kids Day, which was in Arthur Ashe Stadium. So here you have Arthur Ashe Kids Day, Arthur Ashe Stadium. This is all because of Althea, and it was on August 20th. And what people didn't realize is August 20th is Althea Gibson's birthday. Seriously, really, all those things all wrapped up in a nice bow, that just happens. It doesn't just happen.
No.
There's no way that you could predict or write the script that all of this would happen, and a little cherry on top is that it was Althea's birthday.
So cool.
Yeah, so it was about that point. I'm like, okay, this is part of a grander design here, and so we'll just go with the flow and see what happens. So anyway, One Love has restored the tennis court in the backyard. It had grown over to sod. I mean, you couldn't tell there was a tennis court there, but the base was still there. We just had to remove the sod and then rebuild the tennis court back up. We just finished that. Today is Sunday, so we finished it 3 days ago on Friday. The nets are up, the lines are in, the fence is up. You can play on it. Now the house is being renovated on the inside, and Althea Gibson's bedroom will become an academic enrichment center for kids 12 to 18, because we work with all the centers, the MLK Center, Brigade Boys and Girls Club, Mates Park, YMCA, YWCA, Community Boys and Girls Club, and they primarily address kids that are in elementary school and a little bit in middle school, but basically about the time you're 12, you're done at the centers. But then where do you go? There is no place to go.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would build a safe haven at 1406 Orange Street. It would be open to anyone that wanted to come, just like Dr. Eaton's property was. Same rules apply. You want to learn tennis? You're welcome to come and learn tennis. You want to learn academics? We've got a mentoring program that pairs up kids with retired teachers, educators, college professors, people from the hospital, Live Oak Bank, all that stuff. We're going to put a greenhouse on the back property where the garage used to be, and the kids are going to operate a tower garden. They're going to grow fresh vegetables. They're going to learn that food doesn't just magically appear on your plate, and how you have to cultivate it. Then they're going to harvest it, package it, and market it, and sell it to local restaurants.
That's it.
Where we bring in a small business curriculum about money management, budgeting, sales. These are life skills that if they had that would make them incredibly employable, so they can get a job. Yeah. Working here at the theater, we see kids all the time that this is their first job. They have no idea how to count money back.
Mm-hmm.
They can't operate anything without a computer, and they don't even know how to operate that.
Yeah.
They don't have the personal skills. They learn fairly quickly, but they need someone to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to do the same thing. But these are kids that are extremely at risk. And then we've got a mentoring program that pairs them up the ones that have unstable homes. They don't know if there's going to be the lights on when they get home, if there's going to be food on the table, if they're going to have one adult or two adults, and who they are.
Yeah.
We have kids that in July still are wearing their winter boots because they don't own any other shoes. So we're really trying to make sure that kids have the opportunity, and we serve all of New Hanover County.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that's One Love in a big nutshell.
Yeah.
Of everything we do.
It's really awesome what you guys are doing, and I'll argue on this too that I believe youth sport and kind of community sport are the most important and influential branch of sports, just because, like you were saying, like not only are you teaching people like how to play sports, but you're teaching them how to live life basically, and it seems like that's something that you guys are doing and doing really well at.
Well, we're trying.
Yeah.
So I've been a sports director at the YMCA for 19 years. Started in 99. And that's what brought me to Wilmington. So I've had thousands of volunteer coaches. And I've had hundreds of thousands of kids playing soccer and tennis and swimming and basketball, racquetball, pickleball, volleyball. You name it, we've done the sports. I did a roller hockey program. I've done flag football, baseball, t-ball. You name it. I've done them all. And you're right. The skills that you get out of the sports, you may never go on to even play college sports. Everyone plays. It seems like everyone. The bulk of kids get a chance to play sports in the elementary schools, and then they kind of weed down after that. They get more into academics or music or whatever other passions that they may have. But if they start in sports, the first thing they're going to learn is discipline. They're going to learn that rules apply, that there's a penalty for breaking those rules, that coachability means everything, working as a team. It's really fundamental life skills that they need. Everyone should play sports, even if you don't go on to do anything past 5th grade.
Yeah.
But at least give it a shot and get those skills in.
Yeah.
Now, there's very few that actually go on. I have seen a number of kids through my programs go on to actual professional careers. It's like you can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
Versus the hundreds of thousands that have come through the program. I'll tell you right now, the best way to get a college scholarship: play golf, play tennis, play lacrosse, and be a left-handed shooter.
Yeah.
You have to shoot left in order to be a walk-on scholarship recipient in lacrosse.
Yeah,
everyone shoots right.
I played baseball growing up, so I always say, like, if I ever have a son, I joke with my girlfriend, like, we're gonna make him left-handed.
Make him left-handed.
It's so important. But yeah.
My son is left-handed just naturally, and he doesn't care about sports whatsoever. He's an artist. Go figure, right? But finally, a lefty. He's got a future. Yeah, he likes to draw. He's not a team player. I wasn't really a team player either. I was a skier. So, in individual sport like tennis, you're playing another person, but your score is cumulative towards the team score. Yeah. Same with golf.
Yeah.
So that's where I didn't like the one of 12 people on the. I didn't even like baseball.
Yeah.
I didn't want someone else to be responsible for losing. They dropped the ball and like.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I wouldn't have dropped the ball, but you dropped the ball. You're my teammate. You have to be nice. I don't like that. So but the sports, there's something for everybody if they would just give it a shot. They got to have that support though. The parents have to be behind them and supportive, because if they're not, they're just. And on the flip side of that, parents can't push a kid into sports and make them do something they're not going to want to do. That's the quickest way for them to burn out and absolutely hate the sport and not like your parents for it either.
Yeah.
There's some regret there that's going to come through. So, a number of years ago, they conducted a study, and the parents they interviewed parents and they interviewed athletes from like age 4 all the way up through Olympics, and the number one takeaway from the parents' side of things is, parents will get in the car after a game and they'll go and criticize the coach. You didn't get enough playing time, or you didn't do this, and basically Monday morning quarterback it and critique it. That turns kids off to sports too. It's like you just can't. Things happen in sports that you can't predict or control, and it's not your fault. But you lose and you win. You know, and those are just, you just have to take that at face value. Well, having someone critique that, you know, is not going to make you feel very good about playing. The number one takeaway was that kids who play sports, actually any athlete who plays sports, and has their parent there, all they want to hear at the end of the game or the event is, "I enjoyed watching you play." That is it. Let the coach be the coach. You as a parent be supportive on the emotional side, and don't try to be the coach.
Yeah.
That's just bad mojo all the way around, because then it gets in the kid's head, well, my mom said that I should play more. Well, the coach is good, like, I'm the coach.
Yeah.
The parents are now butting heads with the coach, and the kid's in the middle.
Yeah.
You can't please the parents, you can't please the coach. Why would I even want to play then?
Yeah.
So there's a fine line. And so for 19 years, the first thing I did on every season of every sport was tell parents that.
Yeah.
Coach is the coach, you're the cheerleader, and your cheerleading goes as far as saying, "I enjoyed watching you play, and I love watching you do, and you make me proud." That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a very high retention rate because of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you go? I know you said you've worked with the YMCA for a long time. How did you start working with Lenny in One Love?
Lenny came to the Y when he first got back to Wilmington, because he had a relationship with the YMCA in Tennessee. He had a private membership racket club, private business. And he worked with the YMCA to bring kids in and teach tennis. So it was natural when he moved back here that he was going to try to emulate that here. He went in for a meeting with the CEO. The CEO was out of the office when Lenny walked in. So he said, "Well, what about your sports director?" I was in. So in comes this guy and sits down and says, "I'm Lenny Simpson. I want to start this program. Lenny Simpson Tennis and Education Fund." And we said, "Well, that's kind of wordy and really won't fit on a business card. Why don't you just call it One Love?" And he's like, "That's it." And he was serious. I mean, it was One Love from then on. And so he asked me not long after if I would volunteer on his board of directors, just sit in on his board as an advisory board person. I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Then later on, that was a couple of years of being on the board, and just basically giving advice. I considered myself the idea guy.
Yeah.
You know, like, try this, or I make suggestions, not actually having to do any heavy lifting, because I was still with the Y. The YMCA had a fire a number of years ago. Their main building got burned on the inside, and chaos ensued. And so when their memberships dropped, they decided to partner or integrate with Halo Hoops, which is 3,000 at the time. I think they had 3,000 kids.
Yeah.
And so a way to boost the membership numbers was to bring Halo Hoops into the YMCA under the umbrella, call it the YMCA. It was beneficial for Halo by every stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
It was a great business deal for Halo. You retain control of your business. Your insurance is covered. You have offices, infrastructure, gym space. You don't have to rent. I mean, it was brilliant for them. The Y then would have access to 3,000 kids that they can call Y kids and hopefully get them to become members.
Yeah.
So that made sense. But in that transition, the one sports director was replaced by 4 salaried positions from Halo. So, I was out and Halo was in. So, and I support the business. I mean, from a business standpoint, the whole thing made sense. It's just that I was in the middle. So Lenny at that point had gotten his one-man show to the point where he really needed help. He's not a computer guy. So he brought me on. I do all of the website stuff, all of the communication, publish all the newsletters, on the AV tech for all the, basically I do everything and still do the ideas on top of that.
Yeah.
We joke that it's 2 men in a van. I mean, really, because we don't have an office. Our office right now is Port City, Java, because they have free Wi-Fi. So we go there and buy a couple of drinks, and we sit there for 4 hours every day and do all the work that needs to be done. And then we hit the tennis courts, teach tennis, and then we're done for the day. But in doing that, in most nonprofits would kill for our stats. I mean, we started in 2013. It is now going on 2019. But between 2013 and 2018, in 5 years, which is the time span that most businesses fail, we have grown exponentially. Fundraising has, it's gone doubled and doubled and doubled, and it's going up. Our number of supporters has grown and grown and grown. Not just here in Wilmington, but it reaches all the way to Wimbledon, England. We have a partnership with them now.
That's awesome.
We've been over there 3 times. We have people from all over the world that contribute to this now. We're going global. After the letter writing campaign in the USTA announced the Althea statue and gave credit to One Love for that. CBS Sports did a documentary on us. The Tennis Channel is doing a documentary that's being edited right now. That will be released at the 2019 U.S. Open. We have picked up 2 academic academic merit awards in the state of North Carolina and the 9-state USTA Southern section. We've been Chapter of the Year. We've gotten, Lenny has personally won the Spirit of the Game Award and the NJTL Founders Service Award, which he's going to go pick up next weekend in Austin, Texas at the national meeting. I mean, so we're doing things the right way and we're being rewarded and people are noticing. It's not just the fluorescent yellow shirts that we're wearing. I mean, yes, you can see us a mile away. You walk into Arthur Ashe Stadium at the U.S. Open and you'll be like, there's One Love. That whole group of kids that you can see from the far side of the stadium, yep, that's One Love. Everyone knows us, but it's because we're sticking to principles and sticking to the mission. And we stretch the dollar to the brakes. 2 guys in a van. I mean, hey, no office, no overhead. You know, sooner or later, 1406 Orange Street will be the office.
Yeah.
And we'll operate out of there. But right now, we don't have Wi-Fi.
Well, I applaud you for what you're doing. It's really awesome.
Thanks.
From just kind of a spectator standpoint, especially with the documentary that happened last couple of weeks, it's really, really cool to see what you guys are doing.
We have a long ways to go, though, in the awareness campaign. I mean, there's so many people that have no clue that little Wilmington, North Carolina produced 2 world champions. Yeah. And they broke the color barriers. And Althea didn't break the color barrier just in tennis. She broke the color barrier in golf as well.
That's crazy.
And did you know that Dr. Martin Luther King, he was friends with Dr. Eaton. The day that he was shot in Selma, Alabama, he was supposed to be here in Wilmington. He got diverted because of the protests. He was coming here to speak.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's weird how that worked out. Wilmington has a deep tennis history. We've had Fred Perry, the Wimbledon champion, came here. Dr. Eaton invited him over. So he flew from England over here, and he played an exhibition match against Lenny's other next-door neighbor, Nathaniel Jackson, who in his own right was a fantastic tennis player, actually better than pretty much anyone else. Yeah. And Nat Jackson was actually the guy that took Lenny to the tennis court for the first time. Lenny wanted to know where this man his neighbor was dressed in white every day, carrying a wooden thing, and he'd disappear, and then he'd come back with a Coca-Cola. And so Lenny finally got the nerve at age 5 to ask him, how did you get that Coca-Cola and where do you go? Well, if you want to see, then I need to ask your parents if you can come with me. They did, and he took him over there, and it turns out to get a Coca-Cola, you had to beat somebody straight sets. I mean, you had to dominate them. Yeah. And if you lost straight sets, you had to buy everyone there a Coke. Now, Nat Jackson didn't buy very many Cokes. No. He drank a lot of Coke. And so Lenny did too. But Lenny had to go get the Cokes. There was a corner store. So it was his job at age 5 to go down and buy a bunch of Cokes and then have to haul them back to the court. He had to sweep the lines because it's a clay court. You have to sweep it and brush it and maintain it. So he basically grew up on that court, and now he's back on it 65 years later. I mean, talk about coming full circle. Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But Nat Jackson dominated that world champion Fred Perry. I mean, absolutely just destroyed him. And Fred Perry said, well, if Nat Jackson, being African-American, if he had had the opportunities to play that he had, he would have been in the top 10 every year, guaranteed. I mean, he was that good. He was better than Dr. Eaton. He was better than Arthur Ashe. He was better than Althea. Yeah, but they just didn't have the opportunities. So now today we're trying to give all the kids just an opportunity to try.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the sad thing that they didn't have it, but I'm really happy that you guys, like you said, are trying to give those kids those opportunities. So I want to thank you very much. I love talking to you. It was really awesome.
Anytime.
Awesome, sweet.
Come drop a tennis ball sometime. Show you how it's done.